Hello guys, it's Ryan Ho back with another video. Today I want to talk about the Loxjie D30. This is a DAC amp combo that has basically every single feature under the sun, and that's probably what makes this thing a great value. It comes at $170 on Amazon. And yeah, it feels like someone took like a checklist and said like, does this have XYZ feature? And then the answer was yes, 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 yes. And to start it off, this thing has Bluetooth. So you can see the little Bluetooth antenna. This thing has a built-in power supply that is for low noise. So that's always good and cool because some DACs come with these gigantic like power supplies. And this one's built in, which is nice. And it's supposed to be a really good one as well because other companies will charge you extra money for that type of feature, like $50 to $100 for the power supply. Sounds ridiculous, I know. This thing also comes with a remote control, which I have here. So remote control also a feature it has. It comes with a screen as well, another feature. And then also has a built-in amplifier, so it has a headphone jack, and then it also has a volume knob because of that. And then because it has that, it also can be used as a preamp as well. So literally it has like everything. And then even inside its menus, you can choose different filters. I mean, those are really hard to hear. I doubt most people are gonna hear the difference between those anyways. And yeah, there's a lot of settings to go through, but it's really not that hard to use. You kind of look at a little manual of like all the things you can do, and you just click through it. You basically click it once to go down to the menu, and then you hold it to go backwards on the menu and to close the device, really. So it's pretty simple to use. All right, so when it comes to just the overall build quality of this device, we have this nice volume dial, sticks out, easy grab, has a tactile feedback, so when you turn it, you can feel it turn. The jack is fine. The screen's actually pretty nice. I really like it, and it's colored and everything. It's a nice middle box. It's sturdy, nicely well built, and I like how the edges are rounded, so if you touch it, it's not gonna like stab you or anything. It has 4 little feet and all my oily fingerprint marks on the bottom. And then top's pretty plain. And then we go to the back, we have all our inputs. Starting from the left, we have the RCA outputs. Got a little Bluetooth antenna, nice little antenna, optical, coaxial, USB. I mainly just use USB. And then we got the power supply, which uses the same one as like a PC, which is interesting, and then a on and off switch. Overall, I think it's built very nice, very solid piece of item, and very nice. And it comes with a remote. Taking a look at the controller, it's pretty simple. You have a power button, you turn on display, close display, mute function. EQ is changing the filters. And then you got a mode where you can choose between RCA or headphone jack out. And then input, you can choose between like the Bluetooth or USB or optical. So then you got your level and your volume controls. Very simple, very easy. The stuff that this thing doesn't come with is it doesn't actually come with a 1/4 inch adapter. So if you only have a 3.5 millimeter, you're gonna have to buy one. And then it comes with a USB cable and the power cable. So when it comes to like the power output of this device, it only puts out like 110 milliwatts, which is like not that much at all, but it's more than enough to power a lot of like normal standard headphones or pretty efficient ones. Like even my gold planars they run perfectly fine off them at like 25 of 60. That's how it does its volume. It's like it's out of 60, so 25 out of 60, so it's like almost 50%, like 45%. So it's able to power it sufficiently. Obviously, you could always get an amplifier if your headphone needs more power. But I think what stands out about this the most is the fact that it has that built-in power supply. I feel like the component of this really gives this thing a lot more juice and a lot clearer sound. I feel like compared to something like the Zen DAC that I'll compare it to later. And I think that's like an outstanding feature because the Zen DAC, it was only plugged in through USB, and then you would have to buy an external power supply from them for either $50 or they're like premium for $100. So the Zen DAC costs $130, and then the power supply is like another $100. It's like $230, you know. Versus this one just like builds it into it, and you don't need this chunky power supply on the outside either. So I feel like in that sense, it's already like much better unit, much better constructed unit as well. Without, like, I feel like a lot of other DACs in this price point all have these external power supplies that they try to like sell you on top of it, and it just adds to the expense. So I tested the Bluetooth on this with this little antenna with my iPhone, and I mean, it's Bluetooth, it's not going to sound as good as wired. And yeah, it's basically, it doesn't sound as good as wired. It works really fast, connects, you're done, you're chilling. So my listening tests were using my Gold Planar GL2000 into the headphone jack of the device, connected through USB into my PC, and that's how I tested the sound. Obviously you could use Bluetooth, but it doesn't sound as good, right? So the question is, how does the Loxjie D30 sound? So I feel like it has a more focused sound, and when it comes to like the mid-range and the vocals, they sound a lot more smooth and nice and like more organic compared to like my PC and or like an iPhone, right? And I feel like the bass is also, it hits harder. It's a little bit uncontrolled, but it hits harder. And then when it comes to the treble, I feel like it's a little bit more smooth as well. Less grainy and like glary, I find it. And overall, I feel like the sound is definitely better, but I could see someone not really noticing it if you quickly switch between it. It's kind of like a small change, maybe like a 15% change at most. I mean, maybe 20, 15% change. Better than like at least my devices that I compared them to. But it wasn't like easily noticeable when I swap between them. Cause like when I use the Zen DAC, I feel like the presentation of the DAC is much wider. So it was really obvious when you listen to the Zen DAC versus like a PC or like an iPhone, because it just had so much different presentation. While this one's a little bit narrower and more focused, like those devices are, but it's more refined. So I feel like if you're not catching out on those like subtle details, you might not notice them, but it definitely sounds better. All right, so let's compare the Loxjie D30 to the iFi Zen DAC. I feel like these have different features, and like one's balanced, the other one's not, but the price point is pretty close. So I mean, you could probably choose one for features alone, but when it comes to sound, I think the Loxjie has a much more focused sound, and the bass is just clearly better on this. It hits harder, while the Zen DAC has a lighter presentation, softer bass. While this also, the vocals and instruments, they're much more like forward towards you, and they're much more like full and more detailed sounding. So if you definitely like that more detailed sound, this definitely is better. And then the thing that stands out to me about the Zen DAC is that even though its vocals and instruments are kind of like mid-range, it's kind of like further away. It feels like there's this layer of just like warmness that like makes it soft and smooth but less detailed, which I mean, it's a preference thing. It's not my preference, but that's what it has. But the strength of the Zen DAC is clearly its soundstage and like instrument separation and sense of space. It's like, I feel like the space is just a lot bigger, while the Loxjie D30 feels a little congested. And not only is the Zen DAC bigger, it's like you can feel like the location of the stuff, you can just feel it distinctly around the area. And it's like clearly better. It's like categorically better in that sense. So it's kind of strange. Like each one of these DACs kind of whoop each other in different aspects. And it's like if you can take the best strength of this DAC and the sound stage of this DAC and combine them together, they'd be like really, really good. But yeah, so choose what you value more for each, and as well as like choose the features that you like. So that soundstage issue for Loxjie D30 can be solved basically with an external amplifier. So if you have an amplifier, like this is a topping A90. Now I'm not gonna recommend this for the Loxjie because this is too expensive. This is like a balance unit that's like $500. It has a younger brother called the topping L30, that's $150. Or the topping A50S, that's like $230. I recommend those over this because this is just way too expensive to pair with the Loxjie, but this is all I have, so I use this. And once you plug in the topping A90, The Loxjie sound gets from like this narrowness to like it's just much more open, much more separated. Everything is where it should be. Like how it sounded on the Zen DAC, just a lot more open, and I feel like it solves the main like gripe I had about it being very like focused and narrow. So I would definitely recommend an amplifier to pair with the Loxjie D30. It sounds a lot better with it. So do I recommend the Loxjie D30? I would say yes. You know, I hear its limitations. I do know that it has a lot of features and it sounds good, especially for its price point. Of course, I've heard sound that is kind of wider, bigger, and I think better isolated than this one. And but those of you probably spend more money, around $200 more than that, maybe like $250, $300 to get that better sound. And they don't necessarily have all the same features that this has as well. So, but for its price, I think it's fine. It's for the budget level, it's good enough. And I would definitely recommend it for its price. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe down below. It really helps my videos out. And I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.